So now I perform the moderator, and very good afternoon to all participants. This afternoon session, we welcome four presenters from Malaysia and the last one from China. And we will explore again the music, the myth, and the realities through various kind of music culture. The first presenter one, he come from University of Malaysia, Ajahn Lawrence Ross. The topic will be myth, geography, and culture mapped representation of Thailand's Andaman Sea coast in Orak Lawoi folk song. So I give you 25 minutes presentation and 5 minutes for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Please welcome.
Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you, Ajahn, and thank you to the thank you to the Princess Kalyani Watana Institute of Music as well for this invitation to come and present here. Now, in this paper, I'm looking at the folk songs of, as the title shows, the Orak Lawoi. They are a semi-nomadic island community in South Thailand, and these songs are sung during their biannual festivals called Usik Pelagic, or just Pelagic. Contained within the poetry of these songs are myths, which are not so much fanciful as they are didactic vehicles for conveying local knowledge of their history and their geography and their culture. Historically, the Orak Lawoi have inhabited the Andaman coast of southwestern Thailand and northwest Malaysia, occupying a place that is betwixt and between their Malay, Siamese neighbors, and further on the Burmese and the Moken. This positionality reveals itself through their language. They speak a dialect of Malay, but they have become acculturated within the greater Thai family as Thai Mai, as the new Thais, so to speak. It's also present in their culture. They are prodigious borrowers, and they have created a cultural synthesis that is unique, yet is very reflective of the region, of the Mansatan Kwampen Andaman. It reflects the Andamanness of their locale. Okay, before looking more closely at the poetics of the songs, that's my goal today, I should say that the Orak Lawoi oral traditions account for some of the only extant data on the region as it has existed in the past. Now, historians may argue about the value or the legitimacy of using oral myths and folklore to reconstruct history. But in this case, for this region, we researchers are presented with few options. The Andaman coast has existed as a marginal region for centuries. I've described it elsewhere as being a cosmopolitan backwater, because despite being a very remote place, it is remarkably open to the outside world, accessible to the outside world along the sea lanes. It did not, however, have any major kingdom there. Thus, it produced no court records like the Siamese Tamnan or the Malay Hikayat. It only appears in the text of the other kingdoms as a vassal of its more powerful neighbors. The region was what Thai historian Thongchai would call an overlapping margin. This is a place situated at the frontier between kingdoms in, as Thongchai describes it, pre-modern Siam. And according to Thongchai, these were ambiguous spaces that were subject to multiple kingdoms, multiple sovereigns, where maintaining a balance among the various powers was much of a survival mechanism for the inhabitants. Now, with the arrival of the modern nation state, the borders lost their ambiguous nature. They became fixed lines on maps, drawn to very, very fine detail. And with the arrival of modern history, the past has become concealed. The past has become lost. And it only exists within these stories, within the folklore. So one of the questions I address here is, how were the indigenous mappings constructed? And the answer, as I will mention as I mentioned actually earlier, is through these didactic songs that interweave stories and cultural knowledge and geographical knowledge. Okay, now I just want to go a little bit further into this question of history, because history in this case must be seen beyond the contemporary academic sense, facts and dates and such. Though the Orak Lawoi might, in conversation, they might use, for example, the Thai term prawatsat, history, Kwampenma, prawatsat. They might use that term, but in their own language, they're more likely to refer it or articulate it as Cerita Orang Dulu, that they speak Malay. So Cerita Orang Dulu is the stories of the elders, the ancestors, the people who came before us. So that's how they think of history. But rather than dwell on the epistemological questions of what is history, as one who's lived and conducted research on both sides of the Thailand and Malaysia border, I find it more useful to examine how Orak Lawoi folklore might help us fill in the gaps of existing knowledge. In short, it's a region with very little written history, and folklore helps tell us about the past. And if I have time at the end, I might talk a little bit more about the Orak Lawoi historically as being a very powerful group that today you would not recognize them as, because they live a very marginal existence today. But in the past, they were the guardians, the gatekeepers to the mainland. They controlled the sea. Okay, and I'm not going to, because of time, I'm not going to give a long ethnographic descriptions. If anybody's interested, I have several publications available on my Academia EDU page that I do talk about things such as the Orak Lawoi and the Pelagic Festival and other Andaman performing arts. So just a few brief observations. First of all, Orak Lawoi. The term itself is an endonym that they call themselves, and it means sea people. It is cognate with the Malay term Orang Laut. And you can see the words are very similar. Orang, Orak, Lawoi, Laut. They're cognates. And equivalent to the Thai Chaole. So these are a particular network of Malay speaking, as I said, strand dwelling. They live on the beaches, not on the sea. They don't live on their boats. They live on the coast. Migrant fishing communities. And generally, as you saw on the map before, populating the area between Langkawi Island at the border and Phuket. Historically, they lived at the periphery of two larger domains, the Malay world to the south, with which they have a close cultural and linguistic affinity, and the Siamese or Thais to their north, who are more new to their worldview. They number about several thousand, and they're spread out over that large geographical area. If I can go back, maybe I should go back to the map again. There we go. So going from the bottom, the Adang Lipe island group in the south up to Phuket, there are three main areas that you find settlements in the south, in the center in Lanta, which I will be talking about, and then north in Phuket. North of Phuket, then you get into an area which also has a sea, a semi-nomadic sea group called the Morgan, but this is a different group entirely. Now, between these settlements that you see on the map here are numerous kinship ties, and they have very close communications. And the festivals that, such as the Pelagic Festival that I will talk about, it provides them with periodic opportunities to travel and reconnect with their family, their friends. The oral history and outside manuscripts suggest that the Orak Lawoi migrated from the south. In other words, they migrated from this region, this coastal region here, Kedah, or in Thai it's known as Saiburi. They migrated north and settled along the islands further north. Why they migrated is not clear, but there was an observation by the British colonial officer John Anderson in the early 19th century, I would say like around 1824. That's when the book was written. He actually did the research, he did the travels there in 1810 or 11. And he says that, he just makes note of them, as you can read right here. He mentions this mountain, Gunung Jurai. I'll come back to that in a little bit. And he mentions the area of Yan, a small river northward of the Merbok, near the lofty mountain Jurai in the Kedah territory. So, yes, there are relationships between their folklore, between colonial accounts that tie them to this particular area. But again, they migrated north. And that also has to do with this Pelagic Festival as well. Okay, moving on to the Pelagic Festival. The term Perahu Pelagic is a Malay. It's a Malayic term. It comes. It's related to the Malay terms lancang, which is a swift vessel, often like a fighting vessel, as well as the term ancap, which is a form of offering, something like the offerings that we saw with the flowers and the. So an ancap and lancang are sort of a combination of terms that have a ritualistic meaning and a very material meaning, a concrete meaning as well. And this is them building, so I will explain what this is about. It's a 3-day festival, and it's called the Prapani Lawoi Rua in Thai, or Pelagic. So Lawoi Rua means to float the boat. It's centered around ancestor and spirit veneration, and the purging of bad spirits, malevolent elements from a village, sort of a gabon of sorts. The rua, or the boat, or the Pelagic, is, as we saw before, cognate with lancang. It's a painstakingly constructed model boat which carries away the bad fortune, the bala, and assures them safe transit for the souls, people who have recently died, back to their ancestral homeland, which is Gunung Jurai. After a series of rituals, processions, songs, and dances, the boat is launched on a journey that is believed will deliver it back to Gunung Jurai. And something about Gunung Jurai which is interesting is the fact that it's only about a 5-hour drive from Lanta to Gunung Jurai. Most, or maybe I would say almost all the Orak Lawoi have never seen it. They've only heard about it in their folklore. Yet it remains an important part of their lives, as mountains generally are in Southeast Asian society. You witness the cremation mountain that is being constructed at the moment. Mountains have a very strong symbolic and spiritual meaning. Through these Pelagic songs, though, the Orak Lawoi, they bridge this separation of distance and time from their ancestors, and they recount their history. Okay, I covered this already, that it carries away the bad elements. There's a picture of the boat. It's a lovely, lovely thing to see. It's about 3 meters long, built to the finest detail, and then cast out to sea, never to be seen again. And it's all done in one day. Okay, moving on. I'm going to skip most of the musical descriptions here. Unfortunately, this is a music conference, but I'm talking more about the poetics here. Other to say that Pelagic ceremonial music called Berana, which comes from the name for the drum, which is a rebana in Malay. Berana is the name for the music. Here they call it main berana, which means to play the berana. It's a form of responsorial singing to this frame drum accompaniment, and it's performed for Pelagic as well as other sacred festivals, dedicated to their ancestors and their guardian spirits. And in this performance, you can see a group of mostly men, but there are on occasions women playing drums, clappers, gong, anything really. They can bang on an empty can or a basin as well. The leader, or the master singer, is the guardian of the community's knowledge, and thus has a very important and respected role. This man, he was the celebrated Orak Lawoi singer, Ngem Taleluk, and he is pictured here. He passed away in 2009 at 72, and he was seen as the most skilled pontoon singer of his generation. And the excerpts from the song I'm going to play in a little bit were recorded during my numerous encounters with Pak Ngem between 2007 and 2009. Okay, so the song I'm going to talk about today, I picked one because of its relevance to all of these aspects of culture and geography as well.
It's called Tope. Tope is sung during the Plachap, only during the Plachap, and is sung on the final day. It belongs to a disappearing tradition of long and extremely elaborately constructed pantun. Pantun is a poetic form, a Malay poetic form. And it requires a type of mastery that few singers in recent generations have been able to attain. Now, the lyrical poetry of Tope evokes motion. And it's done not just through the pantun, but there's a form of pantun, a particular type of pantun known as, in the Malay world, as pantun berkait, which berkait means to be connected. They're linked, connected quatrains. That means from one quatrain to another, there'll be some form of connection. The Orak Lawoi refers to this as pantun iri. That's a local term, and you only find that among the Orak Lawoi, this pantun iri. The interlocking lines are realized through repetition and substitution, and they provide a continuity from stanza to stanza. And in this particular text, they enhance the diachronic as well as the geographical flow. Okay. So the pantun of Tope, it recounts numerous aspects of disappearing Orak Lawoi lifestyle and culture, and I think perhaps most importantly, it provides a unmatched geographical lesson of Lanta's littoral or coastal area from the perspective of a community that has perhaps for centuries inhabited this island. The song's narrative follows this protagonist, known as Tope, through a series of episodes as he circumnavigates Lanta by boat. And I'll just show you this, and I'll come back to that in 1 second. So as we listen to these pantun, they're going to take us on a trip that goes from here around, visiting various places, and then back to where he started in a counterclockwise circle. Counterclockwise is also a very symbolic direction in many Southeast Asian cultures. Okay, I'm going to go back to this so I can give you some sort of background as to the form. Each four-line quatrain in Tope consists of two parts, as you can see here. In the first part, he travels around the island shipwrecked in line 1, and then he swims to safety in line 2. And we'll hear this, and we'll see the pantun written out. In the second part, lines 3 and 4, we gain insights into Orak Lawoi lifestyle and culture, as well as personal details about Tope, who is something of an ancestor spirit, or as they would call in southern Thailand, a tuat. The quatrains are linked at 2 points. One, by borrowing the place name of line 2, where Tope swims to safety, as the place where he is shipwrecked in the subsequent quatrain. So you can see he's shipwrecked at this place, place A, swims to safety at place B, and then later on he'll be shipwrecked at place B, and it'll connect. So you get this interlocking, this pantun irik ataupun pantun berkait here. Okay, and then this is going to go on again. So from quatrain, for example, quatrain C, when we see that, it would be the same thing. This would then become the first line of the next place. Okay, so thus, in this manner, we follow Tope around. Again, back to this slide. He journeys counterclockwise. As we go, we learn the indigenous names of each station. Now, when I say indigenous names, I mean the Orak Lawoi names. The Thai names have replaced all the Orak Lawoi names. So places such as Da'ao. Da'ao is an Orak Lawoi name. In Thai is Hua Lem Klang. So it's lost its meaning. Even the Malays who live on the island would call it something else. It's not the Orak Lawoi. They would call it Tanjung Tengah, which is actually the same thing as Hua Lem Klang. So
in keeping this song going, they keep the names. They retain their history. Okay, now Lanta Island, the island that we're looking at here, which is just off the coast of southern Krabi, and actually this is Trang province, so Krabi is further north of there. So in this area, it's an extremely profound importance to the Orak Lawoi, being the physical center of their community. If you remember the map before, you had the northern side was Phuket and the southern side was Adang, and in the center is Lanta. And it's also the abode, as I said before. It's a mountainous island, so it's the abode of their guardian spirits, their Jauti. And because of its long settled history, it's a second ancestral home after Gunung Jurai. As you remember, the place that they go back to when they die, their spirits are sent back to Gunung Jurai. So Tok Pet's journey around the island may also be seen as the analog of circling a sacred object, as I mentioned a little earlier. In the second pair of lines, we gain insight into the customs that are disappearing or have disappeared from contemporary Orak Lawoi lives. I will mention a few of them. For example, the building of a rumah pelimau, which is a temporary structure when you get sick, that you sit in this wooden structure and you have water poured over you until you become better. So these things have disappeared from Orak Lawoi practice, but they still exist in the song. So the Orak Lawoi still know about these things. Okay, let's take a look at some of the quatrains. This is the opening one. And just to get an idea of what it sounds like, because I have not let you hear it yet, I think, is it this one?
Ayun tope uy ayun tope berayun berenoi le papan lama-lama tope berayun sakit tubuh di dalam le badan.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now we haven't gotten, this is almost like an opening. This does not relate to the form that I showed you before. It's not a linked quatrain yet. This is just an introduction. We meet Tope. We get the idea that he's a frail man, an old frail man, and he is just a sad character, you could say. In the next one, now we can start to see how the quatrains become linked. And we'll see the first one is Tope Karam Pantai Le Kersi. Berdendang nyanyi kendanjung le besar. Now the Orak Lawoi language is like Malay, but it's different in a slight way. So for example, one of the challenges when I first started talking with Pak Ngem was that this line, it sounds, what does that sound like? Berdendang nyanyi. It sounds like he's singing, because in Malay, berdendang is to sing and nyanyi is to sing. But actually, this means berenang. It would be the same meaning, which means to swim. And nyanyi means night, or to rise up. So he swims to the coast. Ke Tanjung le Besar. He swims to the Great Cape. Tubuh tope demi dengan kecil, angin kencang ombak pun besar. So we're learning a little bit about Tope here. Here we're learning about the geography. We move on to remember these places, especially Tanjung Le Besar, the third quatrain. Tope Karam di Tanjung Le Besar. There's the connection. Berdenyang nyanyi batu le keracak. Angin kencang di ombak pun besar, mata dahari berembang nak siap. We're learning a little bit about the coast. It's a rough coast. The strong winds blow. He's going around the outside of the island. So they learn about the geography. Okay, we'll move on to another quatrain. This is not following, so we don't see the same connection with the past ones. Topek karam di batu buruk, berdenang nyanyi ke pulau le besi. Topek termakan barang mabuk, cucu hak Topek bergaduh hati. He's accidentally consuming some form of intoxicant. I'm not sure if I have the next one. Okay, the next one. Topek karam di Pulau Luang,
Berdenang Yangi Kematik Murder. Actually, this is not the next one. It comes a little while later. Ada barang habis terbuat, topek menghirup air bubur. This is a traditional remedy for being poisoned. He drinks the water from the rice, and is teaching basically the community how to resolve. If you're sick, you drink rice water. Okay, now we see the rumah belimau. After being sick and after being given medicine, then he has to sort of go through the final phase, which is, just finally purging his body. So he sinks at Da'au, swims to Batu Cek Mai. He makes this rumah belimau, this temporary structure, and finally, itu baru topek selamai. He's finally safe. Okay, another example of, we learn more places, Sungai Buaya, Pantai Ducat. These are, again, more places. Nobody knows these names in that area anymore. These places, they've been given Thai names. The Orak Lawoi names have completely disappeared. But if you go along with the elders and you, as I've done, take a boat around the island, they'll point to that place and say, we used to call that Sungai Buaya. That place we used to call Pantai Ducat. And then here, the second part, where we learn about the culture, his granddaughter is a young maiden, ready for marriage, so he puts on this beaded garment. They don't do that anymore. The Orak Lawoi, in the past, they would wear beads when their children or grandchildren were married. But this is a practice that's long disappeared. Tope Karam di Sungai Belai, again, new place, old names that have been lost. He goes to stay in Negeri Barai, which is the Malay word for Barat, or the West, which is actually Phuket. He goes to live in Phuket. And after a while, he misses home. He wants to come back. That is basically, if I have a couple more minutes, I'd just like to say a little bit about why, maybe I shouldn't say thank you yet, because you might get the wrong idea. I'd just like to expand a little bit on the hypothesis that the folklore enriches our understanding of this regional history. That the Orak Lawoi have a much larger legacy than we might imagine. So sea-based groups, as I mentioned before, I alluded to before, they played a pivotal role in Southeast Asian maritime relations. They dominated the sea lanes. And that gave them a very strong power as guardians, as gatekeepers, as toll collectors for the mainland. You had to go through the sea to get to the mainland in the past, so they were the ones who you met first, and they were a very strong group. Historian Leonard Andaya, for example, discusses the importance of Orang Laut groups, sea groups, in the southern Malacca Straits. He wrote of the symbiosis between the land and the sea-based groups, and the establishment and maintenance of the Malacca Kingdom, the Johor Riau Kingdom in the 15th and 16th century. But he doesn't give much attention to the northern part of the peninsula, which was dominated by Kedah. And even before that, there was a kingdom called Langkasuka, which was also an ancient kingdom of that area. So those kingdoms were also people would arrive there by the sea. So what role were the Orak Lawoi playing in the past? Today we look at them as very poor, marginalized, very poor economically, but they do have, I think it's very likely that they were once a very powerful sea people. Okay, I'll just conclude by saying, Tope is just one example. They have a whole canon of these songs that they perform in the Pelagic, and each one is very different and very interesting. Yet, this one is uniquely special for the indigenous knowledge, the pumpanya that it still conveys, and the insights it still provides into the once common but now disappearing practices that once characterized this overlapping margin, this place that we've lost historically. Okay, so now I can say thank you. Kopunakap.
We have 3 minutes for exchange idea or question, if you may.
Lauren,
Yes, please.
could you go back to the graph showing the one that's just the Pontoon structure?
Yes.
I did not quite get what the difference between storyline and, for example, the first line, shipwreck. Are you saying that the storylines are the ones that move the narrative and the other ones are just
Yeah,
filler? Or I don't,
yeah. I mean, storyline is a bit confusing, perhaps because both sort of have a story to them,
Right.
don't they? But the story of the first is just a repetitive shipwrecked, swim to safety, shipwrecked, swim to safety. It doesn't change. Only the names of the places change. Whereas here, we see things such as
developing.
yeah, you see that Tope, for example, he eats this something that poisons him, and then he goes through this whole thing. By several quatrains later, that is resolved. So there are smaller stories, you know, contained within the larger structure.
And my follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
Does the music reflect the poetic structure?
We didn't hear the music.
I can notice.
The music is a very repetitive music.
Oh, so
Can I just play very quickly? Because I apologize. I was going to play this. Yeah, they dance in circle, in counterclockwise circle. This is Pak Nien. Pak Kicap. Luku.
So you mean the lines are all musically the same?
Yes, exactly. This is the second part, the second half. So there is a distinctive difference between the first two lines and the second two lines. And the gong pattern is very interesting. It's not just a gong, gong, bong, 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 bong. So it's a syncopated gong line. Yes?
May I ask, like, the music, yeah, is more or less the same throughout the...
As you heard, pretty much,
As
yeah.
I heard, yeah. But are there, like, different songs? Or it's always, like... because I know, like, there should be, like, different chronicles or, like,
Yes,
they
this
tell
is-
different stories, right?
This is one song out of
This
the
is one song,
out of
but
the repertoire.
Exactly, yeah. But in the repertoire,
Yes.
are the, like, lines, the singing lines,
Different
always
melodies, different melodies,
melodies.
different rhythms,
okay.
different
But they
melodies,
stay the
yeah.
same within the piece.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
The
but like
piece
they
will
change-
generally
yeah.
not change very much. It'll
Okay.
pretty much go until the end and maintain that,
Okay.
that same.
Yeah.
That same.
And how important is this music? How important is the difference between each song, or how important for
Important-
them? Like, what kind of importance can that have? Like, why is that different?
Well,
and
they
it's
have
not-
to. I mean, in terms of the musical features, or in terms of just the general meaning for them, it's very important, meaningful to them, because it's the way that they continue their culture and continue to teach their stories.
Yeah.
In terms of the music, they're very flexible with the music.
Yeah.
They-
No.
they-
I meant musically.
Yeah,
they're
they
very-
don't seem to give much care to slight variations in the music, but they do appreciate the master singers and the people who can play the drums better are the people who have the best seats within the circle, and they sort of become they become the sort of the guides for the younger people who are just joining in.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm afraid that
No, please.
we run out of time because we have to share with the other three.
Yeah.
But, anyway, thank you so much, Ajahn Lawrence,
ขอบคุณนะครับ
Ross, for your knowledge and your information. Actually, the story of Orak Lawoi to the Thai people is many points to be shared and to be investigated. And few years ago, they walked to Bangkok to ask for citizenship.
That's right.
And they
Yeah.
perform in front of our parliament.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of dialogue, from the youth tribe and then people who
Mhm.
find Maybe we can find out more from this, and also the interrupt of the tourism industry very much disturbed to this land. And okay, anyway, I wouldn't give much of a comment, but thank you.
Thank you.
And
ขอบคุณนะครับ
to learn from you again from
Yes.
the experience of Lawoi songs.